Okay. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the FMC IT training. So just to recap a little bit from last session that we did. So this is session 2 of the FMC IT training. Session 1, we did the basic. That was the introduction of the equipment, looking at the ICP, looking at the computer, the monitor. We talked about monitor. We talked about mouse, using mouse, keyboard, and also laptop, iPad, and also phone. Today training we're going to be doing mostly, we're going to be dealing with Windows. So this is Windows training. This is for beginners. This is not for intermediate or advanced level. So the aim of this training is we branded it for the beginners, just to give an absolute, to show the beginners how to use the operation. My name is Gusson Naram Jr., and I will be taking the training for this today. Okay, welcome to the training, section 2. As I mentioned earlier on, I'm just going to go to a brief introduction, and we'll share the slide on today's training. So the introduction, so we're going to be dealing with the startup. So we're doing a window tour. So we're dealing with startup menu, talking about what is the startup menu, taskbar, status bar, file explorer, internet connectivity, and basic internet surfing. So those are the areas we're going to cover. So the first one on the agenda is startup menu. So what is startup menu? So where do we find it? So when we switch on our computer, our Windows program, and we see the menu. So what does it mean? So I'm going to show you briefly using my computer. So as you can see on the screen, on the far left here says start. So that's what we call the startup menu. So when we click on that, so beside it, what we have is what we call, so this is that's the startup menu. And in the startup menu, you have a lot of apps. We'll come to this and we'll talk about this in the later slide. So next to that, we have the taskbar. So all these icons here. So this is where we keep our apps for easy access or any frequent use app that we're using. And on the far right, we have what we call the status bar. So the status bar, what we have there is the battery, the internet, the date, and notifications of any updates. Okay, so we'll go back to the slide. Okay, so if we start with the startup menu, so I'm going to click on that. So in the startup menu, there is a quite important. So on the left-hand side here are very, very, very important. So these are the frequent buttons that we need to be familiar with. So first of all, we have the power. You got settings, pictures, documents, and user ID. So that can be your name or whoever is using it. So that's very, very important. So if we take each one step by step, so the power button. So the power button, this is the switch on and off. So if you click on it, tells you if you want to shut the computer down, if you want to restart, or you want to put it in a sleep mode. So sleep mode, this is hibernation. We put the computer in a hibernation mode when we're not using it. But if you want to shut it down, so this is a safe way to shut down the computer. For any reason you have to restart the computer or the computer has to be restarted, this is where you click. So this is very, very important. So these are the frequent ones that we use. So we can come off that. So the next one is settings. Settings, this is where for our Windows settings, so this is where we can find devices such as the system, phone, internet, which is very important, which we're going to talk about later on. We can personalize the background or the screen. So at the moment, I have a different background, so I can change the background. We have apps that we'll talk about again. We'll talk about those ones a little bit. Accounts, so this is where we can add as many users. So we got time and date and your region. So basically this is changing time, language that we are comfortable with. We also have some other ones like privacy and updates and security as well. And also search engine. On top here, what you have is Microsoft's updates. So you have the OneDrive, the Windows updates, as I need to do some updates. So this is a notification to upload or update the latest one, and any reward as well. But we are just going to be dealing with a few of this today. So the next is pictures. So pictures, this is also a quick way to access your pictures. I'm going to show you another way as well to do that when we get to File Explorer. But this is a way to access your pictures. We can click on that. That tells you what pictures you have. The next one is documents. In terms of documents, what we are talking about documents, so this is where you have your files, and it's important to you as well. So this is a quick way of accessing your files as well. And up here, as you can see, this is a user's ID. So whoever has the account is associated to. So you can have as many users as you can. So you can create different account holders for different people. So for example, in a family of 3, you can end up having everyone having their own user and their own password. So which will have their own Windows setup as well. Okay. So we'll go back to the slide and I'll talk through that a little bit. Slide 3. Okay, so this is just what we talked about. So just want to do a quick recap. So on the far left, we have the Start menu. In the middle, we have the Cortana bar. Next to that, we have the Taskbar. Next to that, we have the status bar, and we have the notification bar. So the next one, so we briefly talked about the Start menu. So what I wanted as well to talk about in the Start menu, if I go back to my desk, share my screen. So the next point I really want to talk about in this slide is what we call the apps on the Start menu. So we have what we call apps or the tiles. So they are arranged in tiles, as you can see from here. And so these are various, like for example, right now it's snowing in London. So we have a weather app. So what you can do, this gives you information. So we can make it live. So you can see the weather within your area, your local area. So that's what that does as an information. And if it's too small, what you can do is just right click. We can change the size. For example, we can make it medium. So you can resize it, say medium to small and even large. So that would take a lot of the space. So we can do a lot. So if that's your something that you use regularly, I sometimes use that as well to look at the weather and the weather focus. So it's quite important, and it can be moved around. So we can move it up to, we can drag it, move it to different sites as well, or put it back. So it can be moved around, or you can take it out. In this case, I've taken it off, but we can also reinstall it as well. So these are your tiles. We also have on the far left here, this. So on the far left, what you have in the middle, we've talked about the far left, but this is the middle item. So here shows you your frequently used apps. So you can have it is all laid out in alphabetically order, and you can scroll down. You can have your tools, your windows. So it's all laid out in alphabetical. So these are the apps. And again, we mentioned about settings. So we can also get the settings here as well. So also you can have your windows as well. So Windows security, we'll talk about that later on how to secure making sure that your Windows is secure. Okay. So the next one I'm going to talk about, as my previous slide says, is Cortana. So what is Cortana? Cortana is a search engine that we use for the Windows. So another way of finding documents is by typing it. And so this is what this is going to be. So I'll share my screen on that. So just bear with me. Okay, so we'll go back to the sharing of the screen. Okay, so this container, for example, you want to search, let's say Google Chrome or Windows, Microsoft. So we search for Microsoft Word. So you type in Word and that will come up. So we have Microsoft Word app right here. So that's another way to do it. Another way to do as well is to talk to Cortana. So there is a speaker here. So this is a quick way to access your apps. So for example, we can click on this button here, and you can talk to that. So it's a voice recognition. So once we say Cortana, Cortana, open Microsoft Word. So that should.
I can learn to understand you much better if I can get familiar with the way you talk.
Okay.
I need your permission to help.
All right. So we can do this later on, but you can actually talk to Cortana, and you can configure it to your ways of speaking, and that will pick it up. So now, task that we need to talk about. So we have another one which we call the taskbar. So right here is the taskbar. These are items that we frequently use. So in my case, I tend to use Microsoft, the search engine, Microsoft Edge. You got a folder file explorer. So you have a few other things like, so what in this case, I have Google Chrome. My laptop is HP. So I like to have the HP Utility Center. And you got Skype and a few other things that you have open. Okay. Can we go to slide 5, please? So I'm going to share slide 5. 5. Okay. Okay. So just bear with me. Sorry, slide 6. I'm going to slide 6. Okay. So this is what we're talking about in slide 6. So we got the taskbar, as I mentioned. So you got what we call the task view. This is the Internet Explorer. So in this case, this is Microsoft Edge, Google, so which a lot of us use a lot. You got the Window File Explorer and other items as well. So as I mentioned again, this is HP and this is base. So this is to use for a quick access to your document that you use a lot. So I recommend pinning it. So what I want to show you just a way how we pin it. For example, if I'm going to share my screen. So we talked about Microsoft Word app. So to pin it, we just do right click on our laptop or using our mouse. So over here, what it has here, as you can see, it says pin to taskbar. So if I click that, so as you can see here, it has added a Microsoft Word here. So it's very easy to use that. So what we have done is we've gone to the container, we type what we want, so which was Microsoft Word, and we click on that, right click using our mouse, and we're able to pin that to the taskbar. So next time when we want to do a document, we don't need to type it out to say, take me to Microsoft Word. We can now click directly on here. Now, if you want to remove it, again, using your right, the mouse on the right, your right click on the right side of the mouse, and you can unpin it. So here we have here unpin from taskbar. So if I click that, so that will remove it. Okay, so that's how easy it is to do. So again, this is how to use the taskbar. It's very easy and straightforward. So again, to recap, we use the Cortana. So Cortana is a quick search engine for us. So it's a quick way of using it. And we just find what we're looking for, what app. So we right click on the app and we can pin it to our taskbar. Also as well, we can also pin it to our desktop. So if you don't want it in the taskbar, another way to do is put it here as well. It's for easy, as you can see on the left hand side. So you can put it here as well. So it's easy to locate and for easy access to use. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about the next one is the status bar, and I'm going to share the screen. Now with the status bar, what we have, if I start from the top, so we got the battery life. So this icon here is the battery life. Next to it, you have this volume. So this is where you have access. So this is what I'm talking about. So you got the volume here. Next to that is the internet connectivity. So for example, this tells you where you're connected and the Wi-Fi, the speed, or your Wi-Fi. So right now I'm connected to Wi-Fi, and that's what you're seeing there. Next to that is important is date and time. So if we click on that, So we can adjust the date and time, as you can see on the right. So for example, we can change, if today was the 25th, which is tomorrow, we can change the date, just make sure that can be done as well. So we can do that setting as well. So this can be done in the settings that we talked about. So to recap again, we go to menu, which is the start. We go to settings. For those that were using the previous Windows, so this is Windows 10. So if you've used Windows, previous Windows, or in the past, that can also be, or you have that, you can type in Control Panel, but we also have Control Panel if you're familiar with Control Panel. So setting is a new way that replaces the Control Panel. So if we go here, date and time, so we can change the dates, and so this is a way you can set it automatically to the time zone where you are. So for those who are in the UK, so it's the +00 GMT, so which is the 00 hours. You're talking about Dublin's, Lisbon, and England and London. So that can be done and synchronized automatically. So if you click on time and date, so you can do that as well. Okay. So that's about, again, that's in terms of the date and time. So the last one I want to talk before we go to the internet connectivities is notifications. So notification is quite important as well. This is where Windows gives notification of what is required. For example, updates. So I have two updates, two notifications that I need to do. So this is quite important as well, to keep your eyes on the notifications when there is new upgrade. So it's easy to use. So we'll talk about that in more detail in a different topic, but I just wanted to highlight that in this topic. Okay. So we're going to go to the internet connectivity and talk about how to access the internet or connect to the internet. There are various ways. So when you switch on your laptop, your computer, or any device you want to connect to the internet, you always check your icon. In this case, I have a Wi-Fi set up here. So you can click here, but I also want to show you a different way as well we can do that. All right, I think I've just jumped one. So we're going to quickly explore on the File Explorer before we come back to the internet connectivities. File Explorer, there are three ways to access the File Explorer. One, through the task menu, and two, using Cortana. As I say, you type in, or you can say a word, and three, from the taskbar. So if I can quickly go through that, I'll show you how to do that on my screen, and I'll share my screen now. So I'll start with the third one, which we talked about. So the first one was Start Menu. So if you click on the Start Menu, again, what you can do here, or you can also go to Container, and we can type File Explorer. So just okay. Sorry, my system is a bit slow. So we'll try again, File Explorer. So the three method was, we used the start menu on the left, Cortana, we tap in, and we click here as well. We can actually click here as well. So this is the File Explorer file. So again, as I explained, you can add that to your taskbar. So I've added that for the sake of this lesson. So I've added it to the taskbar. So when we click on the File Explorer, so we get, okay, taking a while to open up, but just bear with me. Okay. All right. I'll probably I'll talk through it. So what the File Explorer, what the File Explorer does, my system is not working that great at the moment. So we can be able, one, you can locate your files. It's easier to locate. So you have all your quick access, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Okay, so that's, yeah. Okay. All right. If we can go to the next slide, please. I'm gonna change to the next slide. So I'm gonna quickly talk about internet connectivities, as I mentioned earlier on. So with the internet connectivities, the quickest way to check your computer is connected, as I mentioned, is when we go to the status bar and we check here. So basically to tell whether your internet is connected. Another way is by going through the startup menu, going to select setting, click on the network and internet, and you can check your status that way. So I'll just quickly see if my system can allow me. So if I can share my screen. So what I mentioned by that, so we go through the start menu, we talked about settings. So we click on settings. So on the fourth one, the top line, so it says network and internet. So we click on that. So as you can see here on the left-hand side, so it tells you your status. In this case, we're using Wi-Fi, but in some cases, it might be connected to the landline, so you can use data as well. So if we look on the status, so we are definitely connected to the internet. It says here you are connected to the internet. So if we had no connection, there will be a cross sign here which says it's not connected. So in that case, you just need to connect it by either going to your Wi-Fi setting. So you select look for available networks. So that will search what is available and connect to that. So you can find your hotspot, or if you're using a hotspot, but you can look on that. That will shows you the different network available. And in some other cases, you might need to use a dial-up or internet. But right now, I think a majority of everybody, mostly in the UK, we are connected by Wi-Fi. So if you click on your Wi-Fi, it should be easy to pick it up, and you enter your password. So again, it just quickly show available network. That will show you on your right-hand side all the available networks. And you just click the ones that is yours, and click connect, and to prompt you to enter a password. And once you enter the password, it should be connected. So that's how you connect to the internet, by going through the setting, using the settings. Another way we can do that is by clicking on the icon itself on the taskbar, open network and internet settings. Again, that takes us back to settings. And we can see we're now down straight to what we're looking for. So in this case, we're looking at our status. What does our status say? It says we're connected. If we're not connected, we go to the Wi-Fi and we look for the available networks. Select the right network and click connect and enter the password. Follow the prompts that will tell you to enter your password. Okay. So the last one I want to talk about is basic internet surfing. What is that? When we mention that, so it's basically using we're talking about using Microsoft Explorers or using your Internet Explorer to surf the internet. Either you're looking for example, you want to find the church YouTube channel. So that's what we're going to do quickly. So how do we do that? So we can do it several ways. We can go to the taskbar. We can use the startup menu, or we can use the Cortana. So Cortana is your search engine in terms of the Microsoft. It's a way of typing in, as we mentioned earlier on. So you can either use voice activated or you can just type in the word. But in this two, I'm just going to quickly dwell on the taskbar and the startup menu on ways of finding. So I'm going to share my screen. So when we go, we're talking about, for example, what I have here on my taskbar is a Microsoft Edge, which we can click on that. As well as here, what I have is Windows. So in this case, I'll use Windows, Microsoft Edge. So once I click it from my taskbar, that takes me directly to the Internet Explorer. So the other aspect I mentioned was the Cortana as well. We can go to Cortana and type in the word while I waited for it to open up. Okay. Hello. Sorry, my system is down. All right, so I'm back now. So finally, as I mentioned, we're talking about the Internet Explorer. So this is how we get to the Internet Explorer. So in my case, I'm using the Windows Edge. So you got various search engines. Depends on which one you prefer to use. In this case, I'm using, so you got a Google Chrome, you got Microsoft Edge, and you got other ones that you can use as well. So, but these are the two popular ones that we can use. So that will open up a tab like this, as you can probably see. So we're now on the internet. So what we can do basic search is So we can type Google, which we are most familiar with. So enter that, and in this case, we can go to the FMC church website. So we can type in FMC church, and that would take us to the website. So finally, what I want to say is, so when you have an icon, so you find your favorite website, for example, the FMC church, what we can do to save you from having to look for it or having to type in next time, there is an icon here which says favorites. You can add it to your favorites. So if we click on that, so that's now added to our favorites. And as you can see now, it's blue. So next time we come in, it's easy to locate. We don't have to enter a lot of typing, either going to Google or typing Faith Miracle or fmconline.org.uk. So it's a quick way to search, a quick way to go into the system, and a quick way to find what you're looking for. So you can have as many favorites as you have, depending on how you, which sites or this. And for example, if you want to put the YouTube channel as well, you can type in YouTube FMC, and as I just did there, just click on the start button. It will either turn blue depending on what laptop you're using on your computer, and that will add to your favorites. And when you go to your favorite now, you'll have a list of website that you prefer to use. So this is how we solve the internet. Again, the internet is quite useful. So we're now in the church website, and this is how to go to the church website. So just to recap, so we have, so once you click on open a new tab, so you can open as much as by clicking on the tabs that's open. You got what to search here. When it says search web, you can either search it here or click it up to search here. So for example, enter whatever channels, YouTube channel you want to enter. So if you type in YouTube FMC, so that should take you there. And as well as if you type in the church FMC online. So this is the crucial place when you go into the internet. So you can also go to Google, type in Google. So it comes up with a search bar, and we can type in FMC online. So we can type FMC online. So that will take us to the church website again. So finally, we're approaching to the last. So this is the last topic on which is on surfing the internet. So just to recap, so when we switch on the computer and we get our Windows desktop open, just the key point that we need to know is the start buttons. So from the start menu, we can switch off. So when we want to switch off the computer, we can click on the button that says power. That we can either put it in sleep mode, or we can shut it down. So this is the right way to shut down the computer. And so we have other settings. Settings allows us to do, as we talked about. So this is the Windows settings. So where we can look for our internet connection, as we mentioned earlier, and we can also personalize our desktop. So for example, the last one I want to deal with, and as I mentioned earlier on, is that we can change the background pictures that we like. We can also reduce the light if we don't want too much light, especially in the nighttime. If you don't want too much of the blue light, we can reduce that as well. So this is where we can go to. If you go to personalization, okay, so we can reduce the light. So we can do a lot of things, change pictures. So if I click on colors, so in this case, I got it in the dark mode, but you can change it to light. So I prefer to have my things in the background to be a bit darker to take away the light, but we can also change it to dark. So you can change your default setting and to the color you want, but so most important, you can choose the colors as well. We can change the background pictures. We can change how long we can lock the screen, how long that we want the screen to be when we're not using it for safety reason. Maybe 5 minutes. If you're not using it for 5 minutes, you've been inactive for 5 minutes, you want it to be locked, so your screen will lock. So next time you come back, you will need to enter your password, which we talked about in the first lesson. You also need to enter your details. Either enter your password, you can set up a password, or you can set up a PIN. In some cases, you can use a PIN number. All right. So I just want to say thank you. Again, this, as I said earlier on, so this is for the basic IT training. So to basically go through the Windows tool and setup. So we recommend the next session will cover in more details, a little bit more about the app that we just talked about, so which will be quite helpful. So this will just explain to you all the items that we mentioned. So the startup menu, when we talk about Cortana bar, so where we do search, the search engine, we got a taskbar, we got a status bar. The status bar is quite crucial because you get to find out it shows you your battery, the volume, your speakers, your internet connectivity, and also the dates as well. Then you got a notification bar, which in what it says is just notification from your computer or from the Windows to update, to do an update, or if there's any issue with the computer as well, it can notify you as well. So I want to use this opportunity to say thank you very much for tuning in. And as Pastor mentioned, we'll try to see how we can work with weekly. But for now, we're still going. We'll let you know when the next session will be. And also we'll let you know in advance about the session. So thank you very much. God bless.